And we're joined on the line now by Ambassador John Bolton, former UN ambassador. Good day to have him here, giving the terror threats that are going on around the world. Mr. Ambassador, how are you today?
Fine. Glad to be with you. Thanks for having me.
All right. Listen, I want to sort of lay out what we know, and every day we learn a little bit more. We know that over the past 10 days, there have been 4 drone strikes in Yemen. One of them was earlier today that killed 4 people, including a significant al-Qaeda operative. We know then that they had the terror alerts that are based on conversations between 2 top al-Qaeda leaders, and that led to the closing of the embassies. And this morning, the Americans, all Americans, were ordered out of Yemen, and the United Kingdom withdrew all of its embassy staff from Yemen. Based on the facts as just presented, what do you draw from all that?
Well, I guess the war on terror isn't over, is it?
No, it's really not. But what do you see going on here? What is likely happening?
Well, I think we've obviously received evidence that has people gravely worried about the safety of Americans, not just official Americans, but private citizens as well. That explains the embassy and consulate closures. That explains the travel warning to American citizens the State Department issued last Friday. And that explains the decision today to evacuate non-essential personnel from Yemen. You can debate about whether this is a real threat or not, but we're not playing checkers here, and I don't think we ought to be betting that it's a fake or a ruse or a test by al-Qaeda. I think in the current circumstances, as much as we may not like it, the only prudent thing to do is what the administration has done, make people as safe as they can. The larger question, however, is that what we've seen in the past 2 or 3 days utterly disproves the administration's 4-year-old argument that the war on terror is essentially over, if there ever was a war on terror, and that al-Qaeda has been defeated, having defined al-Qaeda to be this narrow little sliver of itself up along the Afghan-Pakistan border that we've hit with drones so repeatedly and killed Osama bin Laden. The administration leaks, as it so often does, that the triggering piece of intelligence that led to all of the recent actions here was a conversation between al-Qaeda leader Ayman al-Zawahiri and the head of al-Qaeda in Yemen. Now, number one, this leak is a bad breach of security.
You disagree? You're disappointed in that?
It's typical of this administration, but like all this chit-chat about the NSA programs, it's just telling our adversaries what our capabilities are. But in any event, if the Zawahiri conversation was the triggering event, it is the final point of disproof of the narrative that al-Qaeda has been defeated. If it's just a little group of stragglers up in Waziristan, what is al-Zawahiri doing giving instructions to his man in Yemen? Al-Qaeda is still there. It's a very unique kind of organization. It doesn't have a corporate or military hierarchy. You can't put a chart on the wall. Central control of al-Qaeda over its branches and affiliates has ebbed and flowed over the years, but now it's flowed enough that we're worried about American diplomatic posts all over North Africa and the Middle East. I think this is serious. I think this has got to be the point where the American people say, Mr. President, your notion that the war on terror is over is flatly wrong. We actually expect you, the President, to defend Americans, not explain these threats away. Now, get at it.
Ambassador Bolton, let me ask you this. I understand that it was obviously the right thing to do to shut down the embassies in the way that we did because you want to protect American lives and you don't want to give a big right target to the terrorists. However, in a broader picture, I mean, the message that is sent to those Muslim countries where we have our embassies right now is when there's a significant threat, we're going to shut down operations. And I guess I wonder if that really is the best message to send. It's sort
of. What would you rather do?
No,
keep operations going. Look, there are 2 issues.
I understand that.
You can't have sound policy unless you distinguish. You're faced in the immediacy of the present with difficult tactical decisions. Does it signal weakness to close these embassies down? Of course it does. Would you rather signal strength and see people killed? You've got to deal with what is right in front of you. Now the question is, going forward, how do we eliminate the perception of weakness? And the way to eliminate the perception of weakness is not to be weak. For example, example, when terrorists kill the American ambassador in Libya and 3 other Americans, do you spend 11 months in a desultory FBI investigation, or do you attack and kill the people who killed our ambassador? You know, if we had a real president, we wouldn't be in this situation. But I think it's very important not to complain about the fact we're closing embassies today when that may well be our only alternative,
Ambassador Bolton,
given the administration's policy.
Well, that's exactly where I was headed. I was setting that up as the premise of the question, but it really does boil down to the message that was sent after Benghazi, which is we're completely toothless in that region when our ambassador got murdered in cold blood by terrorists, and we've done nothing.
But, see, we don't have anything to worry about because the war on terror is almost over. Al-Qaeda's on the road to defeat. Look,
Al-Qaeda's on the run.
This is like a scientific experiment that's so rare in politics and international affairs. The president has had a hypothesis. He has said it over and over again. He just had the president of Yemen in his office on August the 1st, within 24 hours of these announcements of shutting the embassies down, and sat there in the Oval Office and praised the president of Yemen for his work against terrorism. I mean, this is an administration that's living in a fantasy land, and we're seeing the consequences of it unfold right now.
I just want to get back to that one question. It has to do with the developments of the morning. All Americans now it was very suddenly, very immediately, all Americans ordered out of Yemen, the UK taking similar actions, and it follows on the heel of these drone strikes inside Yemen. Do you see a connection between those two incidents, and what do you think is driving this decision to tell in a very rapid fashion, everybody run for the border?
Well, it sounds to me either like that they must have new information. If there's no new information from Friday, we should have evacuated these people then.
Already, right.
So my assumption would be there's further information. I've been to the embassy in Yemen a couple years ago. It's built like a fortress as it is, but you're in a very dangerous country, no doubt about it.
All right, John Bolton, former ambassador to the UN. Always good to have you.
Thank you so much.
Especially when you yell at me.
Well, listen. Somebody has to do it.
Exactly.
Today, it's Ambassador Bolton.